yesterday for Justin Fields, Chris, and we're going to talk about that for a little bit. Jets, 49ers, Falcons, Panthers, Broncos, Patriots. Patriots reportedly attended. Josh McDaniels was there. I saw it. Can't hide it, even with the mask up over the nose. I can tell that's Josh McDaniels. So he was there, and I don't know if you saw any of the throws. I saw one throw that looked a lot like the throw that had everyone impressed the last time around.
Yeah.
Rolling to the left and throwing down that direction. Not the Zach Wilson flick of the wrist the other way when you're running full speed to the left, but still impressive by Justin Fields. Your impression on him after now 2 pro day workouts?
Well, I mean, again, there's not a lot to dislike about this guy or the human or the specimen or anything like that. I mean, there's not. I mean, in these kind of environments, too, he's going to thrive. Hey, he's big. He's strong. You know, he looks like an Adonis. And he's got great feet and, of course, can really run. Got to
mask up, Kyle.
Yeah,
mask up, Kyle.
Yeah, come on, Kyle. What the hell are you doing? And then, you know, he's got a $1 million personality, too, as far as anybody you talk to. A big smile, got charisma, all that. So I didn't expect to come away from that workout going, oh, wow, there's issues there. I will still say I have concerns about the motion, the way he throws the football. I do. Even in the workout yesterday, I saw a number of the throws, a number of them. You know, and again, Mike, you've heard me talk about this a little bit. My biggest issue with it, and I don't know if it's going to be fixable with him. And, of course, it leads to moments of, you know, moments in games and long stretches of just like where you go, wait, what the hell was that? How did he throw the last 10 throws so awesome, and now these 5 or 6 throws are this bad? How the hell does that happen? And that's what concerns me about Fields. You know, that is. And again, if anybody out there sees the clips of the throwing or anything like that, the one thing he does always, Mike, is it's the elbow, this back elbow. There's a hitch in his giddy up there. And he tries to create fake force with that, which leads to a slower release and him not just letting it rip out there. That's, to me, the biggest complaint about those type of workouts with Justin Fields as compared to Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, even Trey Lance or Mac Jones. You know, they played their workouts like they were playing in a game. Like, let me get back fist. Oh, let me throw it really quick. And let me let it rip because I got all the confidence in the world. I know where the ball is going to end up. When I watch Justin Fields, I see a little bit like, all right, wait, do this, and okay, throw, okay, it was complete, good. And that's my only negative. And I don't mean to be negative about the guy, but that's just my real assessment of him as a player and thrower.
And as you were explaining that,
yeah,
I had a little bit of a flashback to some of the concerns about Patrick Mahomes. And I'm not trying to compare, contrast the two, but remember 4 years ago?
Right.
There was just kind of this weird, vague footwork, decision-making, bad throws, concerns. And there really was not going into the 2017 draft. One of the reasons because the Chiefs kept their mouths shut.
Yep.
The Saints kept their mouths shut. Other teams that knew what Mahomes was going to be kept their mouths completely shut.
Right.
But there was just kind of this vague sense, well, yeah, he can be pretty good, but there's just some stuff about his game that, does it really translate? And I felt some of that as you were describing Fields.
Yeah.
Part of it really is the quality of the coaching the guys get at the college level. The coaching may be keeping them from being as good as they can be and will be at the next level.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt there's some of that. And listen, I'll sit there and tell you, like, I don't always think Ohio State's offense does him justice. He's put in some situations and has some reads on plays where I just want to go, I don't understand this. I've known offense and football my whole life. I don't really get what he's reading or what this offense is trying to deliver or how it's helping the quarterback. There is a lot of that. I think you got to be true to that. Like, hey, Fields and Lance, to me, it's two of the more tougher evaluations ever. You're right. With Justin Fields, you know, there's a superstar element. There is. There's no doubt about it. With as powerful as his arm is and as great an athlete and body he has and all of that, you go, he could be legit, unbelievable football player. Watch out. He'll be a great quarterback. But I also think there's an incredibly, like a low floor, a bust factor there too. because of some of the issues we talked about. That's where it's really tough. It really is. I wouldn't be surprised if it went either way. And like, I'll be the first one to sit here. If he gets drafted somewhere and becomes a superstar, I'll go, damn, I was wrong. You know, the things that I thought were problems, they weren't, or he fixed them or whatever. There is some high-end talent to certainly like, Mike. It's just some of that low-end stuff that scares me to death.
By the way, one of the benefits of never really cleaning up my area is I still have sitting here my 2017 Nolan Naraki draft preview. Listen to the Patrick Mahomes weaknesses.
Right.
And this doesn't come out anymore. I don't know whatever happened to Nolan Naraki, but weaknesses.
Well, maybe it's this evaluation.
well, here we go. But, I mean, strength, there's a lot of good in the strength. Here are the weaknesses. Erratic decision maker with double-digit interception totals the last 2 seasons, operates heavily in a simplistic shotgun spread offense that calls for one-look reads to many stationary targets, overly reliant on his extreme arm talent, and gets careless with his mechanics and unorthodox delivery, too often throwing off his back foot from odd angles and even attempting left-handed passes on the move. All of this stuff that became the strongest part of his game.
Right.
His weaknesses in college have made him one of the great quarterbacks of all time. So you never know.
No, you never know.
It's not a knock on Nolan Naraki.
No, I get you.
You never know how that weakness may be parlayed into one of the most fascinating and compelling things we've seen in years on a football field.
Well, that's like the context of the situation and some of that stuff. That's where it does become important, at least in my eyes, as far as evaluating the quarterback. You know, even with Josh Allen, you'd probably see some of those type of stuff. But also with the context of like all those negatives you talked about, right, Mike? I would go, well, first off, double-digit interceptions. They throw the ball 65 or 70 times a game. So you're going to throw double-digit interceptions when you play in that type of offense. Yeah, they weren't the most talented team in the world. And like a guy with Mahomes, they gave him the green light because they knew like some of those games, just like Josh Allen up in Wyoming, they were like, you're going to have to make magic and pull 7 rabbits out of your butt and probably 3 shamrocks on top of that for us to win the game. So go ahead. There's no leash on you. You know, if you throw it off your back foot and it's a tight window, so what? We'll deal with it. You know, so you have to take into account, too, what they're being coached at times, too, to evaluate that type of stuff. And, you know, I think sometimes that's where people can miss on guys like Mahomes or Allen because of that aspect of what they're being asked to do. It doesn't necessarily always do them justice as far as the NFL evaluators and translating to the NFL because they're a little wild and crazy. But as we saw, both guys reined it in appropriately throughout their careers. Mahomes much faster.
And the reality is, as the game becomes more and more data-driven,
right,
you would think at some point someone would come up with an equation, a formula, an algorithm for spotting the guys that are destined to become perennial Pro Bowlers, if not Hall of Famers, and they all get taken the first 10 or 15 picks in the draft. We're still not there because fundamentally the coaching is going to be different. The quality of the teammate is going to be different, maybe better, maybe worse, maybe same. The quality of the opposition is going to be better. And the projection, even for the people, Chris, who do this all the time, the projection is virtually impossible because we don't know how that guy's going to respond when he takes a step to the next level. And we know from experience there's a ceiling over everyone, somewhere between what they did in college and the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And the only way to find out where that ceiling is to let these guys try to stand up and see where they finally bump their head.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's all you can do as an evaluator, as a coach, to take the things into account to what you said. Okay, wait, we drafted, we like the player. Here's the strengths we see as the player here, through training camp, OTAs. We see the strengths. We see the weaknesses of the player. Okay, let's work on the weaknesses. But, let's make sure we design plays and call plays that are more towards his strengths as we work on these weaknesses. Those are things that, it's on the coach to develop that, get those bad habits out, do those type of things. And that is the great thing about Justin Fields. With all the things that I question about his throwing that I have concerns about, his great athletic ability in his body will buy him time to be able to fix that, even if he gets thrown into the fire right away. It will, because they'll be able to get away with moving the ball with some of his movement stuff and doing stuff like that. And then that will also lead to some easier defenses, which will not make him have to maybe throw real complex route patterns and offensive plays that way. Again, that makes it easier for him to work on some of the mechanical issues. And then you hope, okay, after a year, wait, now this guy, we think he's got it. Right? Fields, he's fixed some of these throwing issues. Let's start to open up the playbook and do that and expand on the passing game from in the pocket and all that. That's what you're hoping with Justin Fields. And, there's certainly that possibility there. But, like I said, it just scares me a little bit.
And I don't know whether it's just people trying to drive interest and build mystery for that third overall pick. And I'm kind of caught up in it. We're 2 weeks away. Nobody really knows what the 49ers are going to do. How much of it is, hey, we kind of like this, we're trolling a little bit. How much of it is they moved up there and they still don't know whether it's Mac Jones or Justin Fields or Trey Lance. Do you think there's a reasonable shot that your guy Kyle Shanahan, who we saw talking to Justin Fields yesterday, personally attending that pro day after personally attending Mac Jones, and will personally attend Trey Lance pro day too, do you really think they don't know what they're going to do?
No, I don't. I think they have a really good idea of what they're going to do, right? Again, my thought, knowing my friend John Lynch, those guys, right? I would think that it's like one of those things where it's like, hey, they're 90%, 95% sold on one guy, but they're going to make sure they see it all and feel really comfortable about that one guy, and comparing them to each other and do all their homework that way. I think, it's a huge pick. It's the number 3 pick in the draft, and it's a defining pick for Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers. He made a really bold move by going up from 12 to 3. The pressure's on him here. People are going to look at this pick for a long time and go, wait, who did he draft and what happened here with this situation? And you're already seeing, people are ready to jump on the Mac Jones thing. I mean, Mac Jones doesn't work. Whoa, Shanahan's going to take a lot of crap. There's no doubt about that. So that's going to be a bold move if he decides to go that direction. The public safe pick is definitely Fields or Lance. The normal fan, the casual fan seems to certainly be able to get their head around that way greater than Mac Jones. And that sometimes I think it's just because of the way the guys look topically, that affects that.
While listening intently to you, I have been trying desperately to find your 2003 scouting report so I could read off your week.
Oh, I wish you. I wish. Did you find it?
I can't find them. You have managed to scrub Google of any and all weaknesses of Chris Simms coming out in the. I found a few random articles,
right?
But nothing that would let me read off all the things that the scouts were worried about.
Right.
Do you remember? And were you motivated by that stuff?
I mean, to a degree, listen, I knew the areas I needed to work on in my game or anything like that. The one thing that I think, I was motivated by, or the stigma around me, was I couldn't win the big game. I couldn't win the big game. We couldn't beat Oklahoma, when we were 1 and they were 2 and we were 3 and they were 2. I lost those games. And then I had the interceptions in the first half of the Big 12 championship game against Colorado that I was the reason we lost that game. So, I got that label on, can't perform in the clutch and do that. It pissed me off because I was the opposite guy of that my whole life growing up. But now I was considered the guy that was wilting under pressure. So that bothered me. It really did. I certainly heard that, and I was very eager to kind of prove that wrong once I got to the NFL.
I have found an article from ESPN.com, January 13, 2003. Simms tries to rewrite his scouting report. It's easy to find. It's easy to find on Google. Do you remember this article, and do you remember who wrote the article?
Not at all. No. I mean, I'm going to say that that's got to be right before my Senior Bowl, something like that that year.
Yeah, and it was talking about how a scout tells a story of going to the University of Texas to study tape on you and others, and the scout sees nothing's changed. Same simple scheme, same vertical routes, same fallout for Chris Simms, cursed with the fallout as a big game failure. And it's a positive article. It's pumping you up. Written by Adrian Wojnarowski.
Wow.
Isn't that wild?
That is wild. But, you know, hey, that's part of evaluating a quarterback. That is, again, yeah, the scheme itself, things like that. I knew at my senior year in college that like our offense wasn't real expansive and that we were pretty simple. I mean, my junior year, I walked off the field with Bob Stoops after we lost to Oklahoma, and he told me to keep my head up and that your offense isn't very good and we know everything about your offense. He basically like tried to like cheer me up that way. But hey, that's part of evaluating and doing that stuff. But like in all seriousness, I got to Tampa Bay, and one of the first like sessions Gruden had with me with putting in plays, we had this play. It was called two-jet bullseye. And I went, he kept hearing me like him and haw. And he's going, what about this play? And I was like, man, if we had this play, we would have won the national championship. I probably would have won the Heisman. We had no answer for Tampa 2. That was our issue. Oklahoma played Tampa 2 against us, and we couldn't beat it. And that led to, me looking like an idiot out in the field.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.